Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for tuning in once again for another film stock review. And the film that I'm going to be talking about today is Washi Z. The Washi Z is a black and white panchromatic film stock. It only comes in 35mm. This film stock was made available to us by the Washi Film Company, a one-man analog film company, and it is run by Lomig. And I have already made a video in the past about the Washi X film stock. So if you would like to know more, then I invite you to watch that video because the film company's story is very interesting. I'm going to link the video up here somewhere so that you can check it out after this one. And I really recommend finding out more about them because they have a huge line of different film stocks. They actually hand respool industrial film stocks. And all of these Washi film stocks are specialty film stocks. They are all very unique in their own right. So there is the one color film stock, which is the Washi X that I've spoken about before. And besides that one, there is a whole array of black and white film stocks. A lot of these are cast on different types of bases. For instance, the Washi Z that I'm speaking about today, that one is cast on a polyester base. So that is actually one of the more common bases out of all of the other Washi film stock, or rather one of the less unusual ones, because other film stocks they offer, for example, have a Japanese rice paper base. So if you're into experimenting with very different types of film stocks, and if you're intrigued by exploring film into these more like unusual aspects, then there is definitely going to be something that's going to catch your eye in the Washi film arsenal. Personally, I know I am going to be trying out a bunch of these because I'm just super curious about, the different effects the different bases can provide. I in fact already have another Washi film loaded in my camera, and yeah, I'm super excited about this adventure. So now back to the Washi Z, which is the star of today's video. And like I said, it is cast on a polyester base. This means it is not that crazy. It can be more comparable to other black and white film stocks that you're used to seeing around. And this also makes it very, very versatile. Lomig himself explains that this film stock can be used for photographing landscapes, people. He even used it himself to photograph his own wedding. So this really shows you that it is a reliable film stock, and you should not expect many crazy surprises as you might with more experimental film stocks. Lomig has actually very kindly sent me 2 different rolls of this film stock, and I am super glad that he sent me 2 because the first one of the rolls I shot normally as I would in my Minolta X700. However, the second roll I shot using an orange filter because a lot of people recommended shooting this film with a red or orange filter because those make the film's characteristics stand out even more. So I really wanted to try this out for myself. As always, the photos I'm going to be showing you in this video are also pretty much unedited except for a few minor touch-ups, and this is of course in the interest of letting you see what kind of results you can expect from this film stock from the get-go. Now, the Washi Z specifically has been respooled from an industrial film stock used for aerial mapping, specifically aerial vegetation mapping, so in the uses of, agriculture, etc. This mapping is also done from airplanes, so the film has to be able to capture a lot of detail from very, very far up or far away. And so with all of this in mind, I think now we can understand the origin and the uses of this film a little better. So to quote directly from the Film Washi website, the Washi Z is a near-infrared sensitive film, which again ties back to the challenge that these black and white film stocks would face when photographing vegetation. So being near-infrared sensitive really allows this film stock to not only capture contrast very, very well, but also to distinguish and portray different shades of green on the spectrum of the green color. I myself tried incorporating greens into the different photos that I took on this film stock. Not that easy, mind you, living in the city, but I did my best. Hopefully that way you can see for yourself and judge for yourself how this film stock does with the different colors. And hopefully you might see why this might actually be your perfect black and white film stock for landscape or nature photography. Now, this film stock has an ISO of 400. This means that it's also going to handle overcast conditions pretty well. The first roll that I shot, in fact, was on a very overcast day. I did not run into any issues with that at all. And the second roll I shot on a bright and sunny day. And again, the film handles all these weather conditions perfectly. The 400 ISO also meant that I could use it very comfortably for street photography and moving subjects. And when it comes to the grain of this film stock, I found that it is quite fine and you really can zoom in quite a lot into your photographs without losing much detail. Again, makes complete sense for aerial mapping. So I can confidently class this film as being quite sharp, and I think you're going to get very crisp results. Also, as I mentioned, this film is quite contrasty, so it's always nice to have a little bit of extra contrast in your black and white film stocks. At least me personally, I really did enjoy that aspect. Another thing I really loved, specifically while using the orange filter, was that the brighter colors became somewhat darker. This is especially noticeable, for example, in the sky in this photo. On this day, the sky was very bright, very clear, and I found this effect to be very intriguing, very mystical. One thing to keep in mind about this film stock is that it is very light sensitive, so I definitely do not recommend loading it in sunlight. I had recently not been very cautious with that. I tend to just load my film on the go wherever I am, even on a bright sunny day. And you guessed it, I made this mistake with my Washi Z as well. I loaded one of my rolls in direct sunlight, and on that one, the first couple of shots especially ended up being very foggy, very milky. That is through my own fault, but yeah, something to keep in mind. Other than that, this film stock really is not hard to use. You should probably keep your lighting conditions in mind to get the best possible results. So for example, this amazing range of greens that the film can capture is mostly accentuated when you have good lighting. In lower lighting, this may not be as visible. So even though the film stock is going to work very well regardless of light conditions, it is definitely much better in bright light. But with all this being said, I still think that this film stock is particularly beginner friendly or user friendly. I did not encounter any major issues shooting it, and most of my photos came out great. And that is despite these being the first 2 rolls of this film stock that I ever shot. To be on the safe side, I exposed this film at box speed. I rated it at 400 ISO as it should be, but I have also seen some great results online of people exposing it at 200, for example. In fact, I think that they may have been onto something, because this film stock does tend to lose a little bit of detail in shadows, and so overexposing it to 200 might actually help counter that. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think I've ever shot any near-infrared film stocks before, and it was a really enjoyable experience. I feel like this film gave my photos this extra bit of depth, and overall it's a little bit of a different experience than some of the other black and white film stocks. And as I've said before, and I'm surely going to repeat it again, it's so nice having so many different stocks, such a variety of film stocks on the market, not only because it means that there's going to be something out there for everyone, but because these options really allow you to step out of your comfort zone, to experiment with different types of formats. And I think this is something that the Washi Film Company really allows you to do. If you like experimenting, you are going to be spoiled for choice. And like I said, there's another Washi film roll in my camera, and that one particularly I think is going to be very interesting, very different. And so yeah, stay tuned for that one. As always, and almost as a disclaimer, if you develop your own black and white film, you know that these characteristics, or the film stock's characteristics, can really be suppressed or enhanced by how you develop it. I did get the 2 of my rolls developed in a lab, but if it's something that you do at home, you're going to be really able to play around with the development process in order to get the specific results that you're going to want. But yeah, you're going to be able to affect the amount of grain in your photos, the depth. So I know that someone who's very well versed in developing their film, who really has their times down, their chemistry down, their mixtures, they are going to be able to get perhaps very different results than what I got myself. Am I going to be shooting this film stock again? 100%. This time around, I'm actually going to want to try a red filter. I heard that the red filter does even better. I jumped the gun, got the orange one just because I was impatient and the store didn't have a red one. So I kind of want to try again with the red one, see what's going to happen there. And now that's about it from me today. I'm going to link the Film Washi website in the description, because I really recommend checking it out and kind of exploring what different options of film stocks they have. Film Washi is distributed globally, and so wherever you are, you probably can get your hands on this film stock, whether it's in a lab or online. And I'm sure you're going to have just the best time trying out the different options. I am off, and I hope you have an amazing day. Shoot some beautiful photos, and I'm going to see you all very soon in the next video.